Just preparing it.
Yeah, preparing it. We're getting on that, and we're going to share it, and we're going to be with people, and we're going to share what it is that we see 2018 to be all about.
There we are.
And there we are. On that, and we're going to share it, and we're going to be with people, and we're going to share what it is that we see 2018 to be all about. Oh my God. And we're going to share it with people, and we're going to share what it is that we see 2018. Are we all getting crazy or what? This is about the funniest thing that I've seen for a long time.
There we go.
There we go. Okay, we're obviously all live, that's for sure. And let's see how far we go with this thing. We have the Changemakers together. We are basically ending the year 2017, and we're coming together to do a Facebook Live to talk about next year, 2018. What is 2018 really going to be all about? What do we want 2018 to be all about? What do we see the trends? What do we see as what is arising? What's going down? What is never going to come again? Well, this year is never going to come again, that's for sure. But what are the things that we want to say goodbye with? And what are the things that we want to say hello to? And we have 7 people coming together, sharing our insights. And I'm just going to go right ahead, and I'm going to start with the first question to the man who is ideally knows longer than his nose, like we say over here in Icelandic. I don't know how that sounds in English, but it is a term. And that is Nick Haynes, who is an absolute expert when it comes to the Chinese medicine, the Chinese philosophy. And I know he's all about, and actually when I've spoken to Nick throughout the years and asked him this question, I'm telling you, every single time he's told me something that at the end of the year, I go, oh my God, Nick was so right. Nick, what is next year going to be all about?
Okay. What we'll do, we'll talk about, what I'll do is I'll open up a conversation. So people on Facebook Live, and I can't see that on my screen. Is it live on your Facebook things? Okay, everybody? Can you see, Runa? Is it live on yours?
I'm actually just about to check on my other computer so that I'm not going to go wild, but I will. Yeah.
Just check.
Yeah, I'm going to check. Maybe we're just talking by ourselves, but
we could be by ourselves. I thought I would just double check that one. How's it looking, Runa?
It's all on. It's all live.
It's all live.
So everyone that goes to your Facebook is definitely going to see you as live. So, yes.
Cool. That's good. Can you see it, Runa? Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So your question was, Runa, looking at what is 2018 going to be about, and I'll just start to open up this conversation so we can then have a general discussion about it and people can ask questions and stuff. So what we need to do is just need to look back at last year, and last year was a fire rooster year. So it was all about cock-a-doodle-doo, lots of fire, lots of passion, lots of crowing. So we saw, and scratching around. So we saw lots of people were shouting out, crowing. We had all the stuff going on in America. We had all the stuff going on North Korea, et cetera, et cetera. So it was all about who could shout the loudest. And for us mere mortals, what it was about shining a light on the one thing we should be doing. Bringing us a real focus, a real sense of what was it that we wanted to shout out about and make happen in the world. Now, this year, the whole energy changes, but there are issues with it. There are real challenges as to way we could possibly handle it. So what we're doing is 2018, we move into an Earth Dog year. So you want to think about dogs. And they have a number of qualities to them. One thing is that they're very, very faithful. So there's something going on about being faithful. And I think it's about being faithful to what was coming to you in 2017. And that, for various reasons I won't go into now, but is based on what was happening in 2012. So 2017 was a revisit of what you were meant to do, the big lesson, the big thing that you were meant to do. And you were really shown that in 2017. Now, 2018 is about being faithful to whatever it is that you were shown. And earth energy is about assimilation, things coming together. So we're seeing the possibility that people really start to come together and start to line up and become faithful to what they believe to be true. This this has a number of challenges, because if what you believe to be true is that the world is a frightening and terrifying place, then you get the other side of the dog, which is a snarling, snapping, aggressive, attacking. You get the attack dog. And dogs that are scared, they attack. People that are scared, they attack. So we have a possibility of some attacking going on, or we have a possibility of faith coming in. So, and it's really determined as to whether or not you're scared. And if you're scared, you possibly turn into an attack dog. If you're not scared and you have your faith, what you do is you move into a higher level of humanity where we come together and are faithful to our bigger vision of what humanity could be about. That makes sense. So we're at a real kind of crossroads as to how we are as human beings. So if we are scared and we're fearful and we're coming from a very low vibration, and our coming together is, I'm this tribe, you're this tribe, I hate you, I'm going to attack you, then we're going to have more cock-a-doodle-doo crowing, but this time we're going to have the attack dogs, we're going to have the snapping of it, and people could become entrenched in their positions. Alternative, you could have people that are highly evolved, faithful, honorable, and working for a much higher level of existence, where we come together as a planet, as we come together as society, and say that actually, you know what, all that cock-a-doodle-doo stuff, that we're going to take a stand against it. So we have an open playing field. Lots of things can happen. Lots of things can happen.
Nick, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Are there more faithful dogs than attack dogs?
Yeah, absolutely. you look at the world. The world, most dogs are just heads full of love, and most dogs are just beautiful. Very occasionally, when they're damaged, when the dogs by nature are not attack dogs, they're like that when they become damaged. And unfortunately, we have a very, greatest respect, Leslie, we have a very damaged dog in the White House, a very damaged individual. But you know, dogs can change. If everyone around them creates nice and calm, keep still, good energy out there, then dogs respond to their owners. So most dogs are created, bad dogs are created by owners that are scared.
Right.
So
unfortunately, in America, we have a mad dog that owns himself. So that, and one should know, as the American in this group, I think we have, as a country, more dogs that are faithful to the world and seeing global collaboration. And I just want to put that out there.
Yeah. And a classic example we saw was when all the environmental stuff, Trump went against that, and California, lots of states, they said, yeah, you can say that, but we're still going to abide by the Kyoto Agreement, etc. We're still going to follow through.
Exactly.
And the other thing I think is interesting about Trump is that he is very affected about how people think. So he isn't actually his own man. He is other people's man, depending upon what they think of him. And he has the ability to rise to something better if that's what people think he is capable of doing.
Interesting point.
Really interesting point. Exactly.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, and loyal dogs and dogs who are joyful. For me, a dog is a joyful thing. How do you see? Do you see that the world is gonna come more together as a group of loyal, happy dogs? or I mean, yeah, you. What is your prediction on that?
Well, it's to do with there is coming together. So you can have us as a group, we've come together, and we have different talents and different skills, and we come together, and then we come together in order to include other people. If you come together in order to exclude other people, that is a different energy. So the coming together can be an exclusive or an exclusive energy. So we could go very tribal, or we could go very global. It's all coming together. It's just the degree in which you come together.
So what your intention, intention that you put out there is actually going to be then the outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. If you are accepting and open to other people and their way of existence and their beliefs and etc., then you can come together with a common humanity. Or you can come together with your tribe to say, you know what, we're together here because we really hate you, and that's what holds us together. We really don't like you. It holds us together. It's all about the glue.
It's all about the glue, exactly.
All about the glue.
Yeah.
What holds you together. And yeah, so let's open this up for a bit of a wider chit chat about that context.
Absolutely.
Well, I have another question for you, Nick, because we have quite a few people watching in here with us, and they're probably wondering, what does that mean to me now as an individual? Okay, so you know, how do I actually now prepare myself to be the best version of myself in 2018? What would you say about that?
So it comes back down to faith. So what were the promises that were formed for you throughout this year? And what were the promises? And they will be a reflection of 2012. So there were hints in 2012 as to promises that you made. Then a lot of us got very lost along the way. 2017, we were re-shown the promise. And what was it that you were shown at that time? And that's about what you have to be faithful to. And it's this year is a little bit like Joseph Campbell. It's the hero's journey. We have an opportunity to reach the point of redemption, the point of success at the end. But there will be trials and tribulations, and so you'll be tested this year. And it's about being faithful to the thing that you said that you would do. And that might be, you know, I'm going to be kinder to myself as an individual. I'm going to take more time off. I'm going to be more family orientated. I'm going to push forward with this dream I've had. Whatever it is your individual thing, but it's about being faithful to that, whatever that might be. That's my take on it.
Can I just jump in and say that I see that both things going on the individual and the collective field, because I think the gift of Trump is that he brings out the contrast to an extent in which people get clear on what they don't want, and out of that we see what we do want. And that goes for both individuals and the collective. And I've seen it with my clients this year, really seeking what Nick is talking about, seeking their inner truth. Why am I here? What is my purpose? How do I let go of all my limiting beliefs that hold me from living out this purpose? And I think we need to do that inner work before we can go into groups like we have and really go big. So I see that as a trend going on in 18.
I fully agree on that, Susanna. I also see that trend very much, that also because we are, you know, I mean, especially also when we look at what happened in Trump, you know, it's split the nation in a way, and that also people wake up more and say, well, now I need to take a stand, right? People are not just part of one tribe anymore. They need to say, so what tribe do I want to be part of? And especially, who am I? What do I want to bring to the world? What's important to me? So I fully resonate with what you were saying, Susanne, and it's also one of the most important trends that I see, that people become more aware of who they are and what's important to them. And I think, Nick, you speak about dogs. Dogs know intuitively, instinctively who they are. And they know very well what they want normally, right? And who they are. And that is one of the trends I see, that more people challenge the status quo, the job they're in, the society they're part of, the team they're part of, what they do. And they challenge that more. And they say, including myself, and we say, so who am I? And, what difference do I want to make for myself? What kind of life do I want to live? What values are important to me? And what do I want to bring to the world? And what difference do I want to make? More and more people become aware of that.
I think you're absolutely right. Something resonated with me before, Nick, when you said, there was a trend showing in 2012 and then it came back into 2017. And it's almost like, being faithful in 2018, it's forcing us, in my perception, it's forcing us to be authentic. What is happening in the world at the moment is forcing us to be authentic. Do I fit in? Do I want to fit in? Over the last few years, what I felt in my clients and myself, there was always still an escape route, but it was getting narrower and narrower and narrower. And at the moment, it is a decision. For me, it's not a decision if I want to be, no, it is a decision if I want to be part of a tribe or if I want to think globally, if I want to think in the bigger picture. And of course, in order to think of the bigger picture, I need to find out who I am. It's exactly what you're saying, what I understood you're saying, Monique. To be at peace with who I am, finding out who I want to be in this world, who I need to be in this world, what my gifts are, and in that allowing everybody else to have their own space and find out who they are, so we can then globally rise into that, rather than thinking in, this is my tribe and I want to do this in my tribe and maybe I have to fight you. I had one question though, Nick. When you say it's about being faithful to what happened in 2017, what in your opinion happens if you ignore that call? If you're not being faithful, it's very obvious to where you want to go. The calls are obvious, the signs are obvious. Maybe you do know where you want to go and you still might be scared, or you're still stuck in your old ways, or you're being pulled back into old behaviors. What happens if you're not being faithful?
Well, there are always degrees of faithfulness. So there are degrees of consequences. So just picking up on the point you made before, most of our conflicts that we deal with in our lives are actually our inner conflicts rather than our outer conflicts. So you're absolutely right. The internal culture and coming together, the nurturing, the caring, that's where it absolutely starts. And to do with the faith, it's degrees of faithfulness and therefore degrees of consequences. If you kind of go, if you were to ignore it, what you tend to get malnourished in some way. You tend to get starved in some way. That's what the earth energy is about. It nourishes us, it nurtures us, it feeds us. There will be a hunger that will drive you towards being. So it's about listening for that. If you ignore the stuff and you don't do it, you will get hungry. You'll get hungry for something that's gnawing away in you. They think, I need something to nourish and nurture me. So if you keep ignoring those things, then you'll become malnourished in some way, and the poorer for it. In the same way as society will become malnourished and the poorer for it. So there's no great punishment waiting. You just will become hungrier, more malnourished, less satisfied, less nurtured, less nourished, less fed. And it will be an empty. No think nothing terrible is going to happen apart from you'll get hungry.
It's just going to bring a whole different set of symptoms, isn't it? I mean, it's almost like since 2012, I've been saying things that are not authentic are all coming to the surface now. Let it be in relationships, let it be in countries, let it be with myself, where I'm not being authentic to myself or to my partner or maybe the job I'm doing. Things started jarring and they don't work and they started to imploding and exploding. And that seems to be getting stronger and stronger. So I love that analogy you're using. So becoming hungry, of course, you're getting more and more frustrated and it will, boom, it will explode. So,
yeah.
What I see, Guido, is that my clients, when they ignore the call, they get very physical symptoms, mental symptoms, that things are just going down the drain. And I guess it's a smart function of our higher self to really get attention on where we're supposed to go. But they really get heavier and heavier. Density gets so heavy. So that's kind of the wake-up call, as I usually call it.
Yeah.
I can also reflect on this a little bit, coming from the media world. I really, really can reflect on this. When you talk about dogs, when you talk about the shift, I can see it in influencers. I can see it in people that don't have the money machine supporting them. They have their voice, they have their story, they have something to say, and this is growing and growing. I think this is so fascinating. These are the dogs I can see all over with very diverse messages that are out there, and I want to follow these people, and there's no media pushing me to do it. This is my own choice, and I really can feel people now, 2017, thinking, what is my voice? What can I say? How am I going to say it? What can I bring to the table? And when this goes stronger and stronger, I can see Trump go weaker and weaker, because in the end, I mean, these dogs out there, we are pretty solid human beings.
To go back to what you talked about, Nick, on that last year was that finding out the big thing you are meant to do, and that this is the year to put it into action, which is, I like to put things in the positive, and so I think that one of the things that we can do, we need to go inside, but then we need to go outside, and we need to communicate what that big thing you meant to do is. And you need to share that. That's what your vision is, where you want to go. Share it with others. Collaborate. Build those trusted relationships. Don't just keep it to yourself. No leader can do anything great alone. We can only do it when we work together, just like we as the change makers came together to share with others out there. So each of us out there, each of you listening to this, thinking about that big thing that you have uncovered, now it's time to take action. And now you need to share that big thing with other people. And even if it's just beginning to share it and get their input on how the steps that you can take, it's so critical that be the year that the dogs work together. They go to where the dogs go out there and play and bark together, right? They're barking and sharing and having fun. We as humans need to do that. Be together with the happy dogs, the gentle dogs, and protect each other from those attack dogs. So that's where I'm coming from and what I'd like to share with those that are listening.
Leslie, I so resonate with what you're saying there, because, and also with Bjarne, your wisdom, of you representing media in so many ways. I see it again and again that there's more and more and more people now taking the courage to speak out their message, to speak up, to embrace, the dogs around them. And we've seen it again with Me Too this year, right? We've seen it again with your beautiful coming out video, Runa. We've seen it again with Bjarne, your boy, right? And again, it's not necessarily only the big leaders anymore that start to be listened to, that start to be visible. Also on our side, as we help people to speak up, scale up, and make a bigger difference, there's more and more stages where people speak up. They have never been on a stage, but they just so grow beyond themselves to just see, I have something to say and I'm touching people's hearts and minds with my message. So I just join in with what you're saying, Leslie, and I know you are the networking star, right? I just say, hey, guys, just go out there and share and say what you have to say, because we need to hear you. We need to hear every single voice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Can I just tap into that, because you're absolutely right there, and I also want to create some balance, because we were saying about Trump being an example, but you know what? We had stuff going on in the UK that was based on fear. We've had stuff going on in Germany. We've had stuff going on in lots of countries around the world. We've had examples of it. We just didn't happen to get a president, but we kind of got close to getting some pretty odd politics going on in some countries. So I just want to balance out. This is happening in Europe and America and in the Far East and in China. It's happening in lots of different places. And there are kind of some people that actually are not going to have a message and have a big platform and have a big growth, but actually they could go on a rally. They could just say to someone else, you know what, that's not kind. That's not a nice way to treat someone else. So we all have a place where we can show up as the best version of ourselves. And that could be signing a petition, or it could be going on a rally, or it could be just sending that energy out there. So I think it's really important, whatever level you want to interact, it will make a massive, massive difference.
Really. I agree with you, Nick. And coming to what Bjarne was saying regarding people don't have to have that big money machine behind them to push them forward. It is really about, and coming to what Gita was saying as well, being authentic and showing up as an authentic person, and is going to create that emotional connections with other people, and other people are going to listen to you and they want to learn from you. So I think we can all learn from each other. And I think it has a lot to do with as well that once there are more people that understand that they have a voice and their voice is important and that they should speak up, like Monique was saying, the more diversity we're looking for in this world, and the more we can tap into the power that each and every one of us have. So I think coming to what basically all of you have been saying in one way or another, if 2018 is going to be about people coming together, sharing the joy of dog community and speaking up in an authentic, clear way, I think there's a lot that we can look forward to.
Absolutely.
But will it be can we or how can we make sure that we can bring in more people into that world rather than I almost want to call the scared dog to be an underdog. So as a term in this whole thing that we're talking about. But how can we make sure that other people can, we can get masses coming into that space?
Mm-hmm. Well, you're seeing a lot, this is when you talk about voice, Runa, there's a lot. I'm sure you all know what's been going on in the U.S. with the sexual harassment allegations that are going on, where women for the first time are coming out and speaking out against things that were done to them, and they were afraid to speak out. And this is huge, not only for as it relates to sexual harassment, But let's be honest here. One of the reasons that women do not have gender equity at the top of corporations is because they haven't known how to speak out. They haven't known how to become part of the conversation, be listened to. And that, I believe that in this coming year, this is the year that women will be speaking out more, and we need to guide them on how to speak out in the corporate world, in the business world, giving them a stronger voice. So I think this is a very important thing in the gender equity scene, and other people too that haven't had a voice, voiceless people, so to speak, that haven't known how to use that voice, whether it's a fear of people in power or whatever it is that's holding them back. So I think that that's a change that's coming in 2018, that we will hear more voices, more, and we as all of you out there that are listening as well as us, we need to show people how to have a voice that they will be listened to. You know, this has been through social media a lot, but that's not the only way. We need to be able to be in a boardroom and have a voice, be in an office, and if you're the only one of a certain, whether it's gender or otherwise, your diversity that doesn't make you feel comfortable, we need to help and support people to have that voice.
And also to ask for help. If you really don't know how to share your story or a message, find somebody that you can trust to write it down or help you communicate it. And that's what we do. The Changemaker, we have been doing that, helping people to communicate their story, their uniqueness.
Yes,
so important.
What I think that we are also one of the obstacles is that many people, and women in particular, when it comes to being leaders, have an inferior ego. And that is that we are not primed at saying, oh, look at me, I'm the boss. So we actually always spot after things missing instead of things that are already there. So we have to train our mind, every one of us, into finding all the good things about ourselves, and then be brave, have a brave heart, and just really follow it. And as to goes to your, Runa, saying that what can we do to make more people? I actually think this is an impulse of the universe, that we don't really have to do that much. We just have to be it, and just really be bold and you know, step up, all of us, and shine the light on ourselves and others, and people will follow. I think it's a given.
I totally agree. And Leslie, I loved your, I don't want to call it an example, what's happening at the moment with the Me Too movement. You know, what we see there is somebody actually dared to speak up. So suddenly 2 more people dared to speak up. Yeah. And then more and more people join the wave. And I think we as the change makers, but everybody watching this, if you resonate with this, if you have a truth to speak out, don't be scared, speak out, because there will be so many people waiting, hoping that somebody will actually stand up and say something and live their values. A friend of mine has said to me this year, life is actually quite simple, not simple, it's easy if you have your values straight. If you know what your values are and you are very clear on them, then every decision is very simple. Then it's, you know where to go. And if we just dare, each in their own pace and space, to speak up and voice our values, I think people will actually really appreciate that. And that is, I believe, how we can do that, Runa.
Yeah, I fully agree as well, Guido. And I always say that we as human beings, most of us, we have 2 hands, right? So if you just reach out one hand to a person, we make them see that they're seen. We make them feel they are heard. We give them a space to be themselves and to share what they have to say. If each of us reaches out 2 hands to 2 people, and they again reach out 2 hands to 2 people, they'll reach many people within a pretty short period of time.
Absolutely.
And, you know, I totally agree that it's so important to get your values straight. And what I see using the passion test, as some of you guys have been through, but what I see is that once that people really get clear, that they got like this trampoline and ability to manifest within a very short period of time, because we as human beings are actually meant to just be like water, you know, follow the path of least resistance. So when we give up the inner resistance, removing all the blockages, things are unfolding with a pace that we can, like, really? Did that happen? Almost instant manifestation I have been witnessing once people get clear. So I think that's important part of this year as well, that if you didn't get clear already, please do it.
Yeah. Can I just add some things into this? Got Runa's lovely book there. I think I have it here as well. Can I just add something into this thing about the voice, because this can be quite tricky for people. Remember, last year was a fire year, and fires, they illuminate, they shine a light on things. So a fire, when you have light, you can see things more clearly, which is why all the sexual abuse came out. It was also a rooster year when people started talking and crowing. That's why we saw the light being shined on stuff like that. It came out from the darkness and people started talking about it. The next year is an earth year, and it's a dog year, and it's not got the same type of style of communication than we've seen in 2017. What we're looking at really doing is creating a fertile ground for the things that were said in order for the changes to be able to grow. Rather than more talking is last year. Stuff is out there and we've talked about. It doesn't mean that if someone didn't talk and say and share what happened to them, you can still do that, but because that's really important for you as an individual to get it down. But in terms of society, it was a fire rooster year. That was a year of things coming out. This year is, what do we do with it? How do we hold the people, and how do we hold the conversation? How do we ground this into society, ground this into reality? How do we earth it down and grow from it? It's a different energy than just talking about it. And I think, Leslie, when you were saying about early on, it's about, okay, we need to act. We need to act. We need to grow from it. We need to embed it into society. We need to do the earthwork, set a new foundation. And it's right to talk about it, but talking was last year, 2017. This year is, okay, how do we hold those people? Either hold them to account or hold them in a safe space so more conversations can come out. Mm-hmm. So it's a slight different energy.
So would you say then, from that earth energy perspective, and if we just talk about the Me Too revolution here, that the next phase is really about nurture that space, and then from there take it to the place that we want? Because you hear a lot of discussion. People are saying, well, you hear two different types of people anyway. You hear certain people are saying, well, isn't this just about enough? Do we need to and where is the line? They go all in all, and they get really confused. They don't understand, what can I do? What can't I do? And then there are other people that come in and say, well, this is needed, and we need to talk more, and we need to, they have that need to analyze it more. But really, for us to, like you were saying, Leslie, to move forward and to take this openness and that speaking up and that, that collapse of old systems and build it into what we want it to be.
But it's also, I think you're absolutely right, Runa, but it comes down to getting a really deep understanding as to what led to us, what's led to this in the first place. It's kind of, how did we get to be like this as a society? And just trying to get that understanding, how do we get to be like this? How do we get to let this happen? That deep understanding is where the change, the reassimilation of thing comes from. So it is listening, but it's getting that deep understanding of where did this come from, and what allowed it to grow, and what do we want to grow instead?
Right, Nick, but I think that to some extent we know it's been going on for centuries.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just And we kept thinking that when in the 60s, that as it comes to women, that we had a voice, and we began to get a voice, but there was still something embedded there in the power structure, and women's taking the step back, and that men are the leaders, and we have to do what they say. And so I think there is an understanding, but I think the understanding is now also, so what do we do now? What action steps can we do? And it's not a men versus women thing at all. It's how do we communicate together? How do we respect each other? How do we support each other?
Yeah. And it's the ultimate coming together, isn't it?
Yes.
And I think the more we understand what's been happening and where we are now and why we are where we are, as Nick is saying, it's creating a fertile ground, right? For me, it's like plowing the field, planting seeds, and then nourishing these seeds. So it's all, as you said also, that the question is, how do we now take what we have and bring it forward in bigger ways? So, again, I feel like we need to know what do we want to have to grow on this field going forward, right? And then we need to find the right water, light, fertilizer, and everything else. Speaking systems, teams, new ways of collaborating. And that is what we as change makers are all about, right? We don't just want to take out the weed and leave a plain field. What we want to do is you want to turn that into heaven on earth, right? And again, the question is, how are we going to do that, and how are we going to go about that, and what systems and structures and values will help us to become the right fertilizer?
Well, I think, coming to what you're saying there, Monique, I think organizations, businesses, groups of people from all over the world, they are, as we speak, coming together and taking a look at how are they going to what are they going to do about the situation right now, and how are they going to learn, and where are we going from that? So I think the pot is bubbling, and I believe that organizations that have the courage to step in at this moment, to take a deep look into their own culture, the culture that they have in their own place, and really look into that and look at, okay, are we blind? Have we been putting a blind eye to the situation in our culture? And not saying that it was deliberate, it was just a blind eye. We are blind for many things. But having the courage to say, hey, I think that this is now the moment for my organization, or for my business, or for my association, whatever I'm running, to take a deep look, to look at what's really going on. What do we really want to stand for? And are we honoring our values? Like you're saying, Guido, are we as individuals honoring our values? Are we lost somewhere? And that's, I think we, the change makers, are definitely going to be, we have at least the tools to help out with that. But I think they need courage. And those who have the courage, they are going to stand out from the crowd.
Right.
Yeah.
Courage and trust are
right. And culture has been, there's been a spotlight on culture in companies now for the last few years. But this particular piece has been left out of it, to your point, Runa. So that is where we as a group can help. We can help in every aspect of culture, but people having a voice and bringing the organization to allow itself to fully flourish, just as Monique so beautifully put it. That was such a picture you painted, Monique. I want to thank you for that. That's so inspiring. I think that for people to be inspired where they work, where they spend most of their day, by the culture that is an open culture, a listening culture. We know with millennials, if cultures don't change that way, they're just going to lose people. And so it's a requirement almost as we go forward. So I love all that how you each expressed it, your thoughts. It was, as a compendium, it was just so beautiful.
For me, it's also a reunion of the feminine and the masculine within, because we've been talking about genders, but for me, it's more like the energies of the feminine and the masculine, and that now it's time for us to take inspired action instead of action for the sake of action. And it's also this imbalance that we see both in individuals, in countries, in organizations, that whenever it's tilted to one of the other sides, things are not in balance, and it's time for balance now. I think we've been in a period where we've been in an incubator, in a feminine incubator in 17, where we've been going within and really exploring what is this for me. But now, as Nick also says, it's time to not just talk about it or be with it, but to actually act upon it. And we need the masculine energy within both genders to do this.
I couldn't agree with you more, Susanne, and I wanna put in maybe a bomb in there. In my ideal world, I would love it if we would stop talking about men and women. I would love it if we would just talk about people, human beings, no matter what race, what gender, what background, whatever. You know, the moment that we as individuals stop talking about groups and always put everything into groups, and rather than just honoring people as people, I think that will take us a long way.
And that would also be a prerequisite for us getting into this sense of unity.
Yeah.
Within and without. I mean, we're all one when it comes down to it, so we might as well act as it. So if I separate you, I separate something within me, and we need to stop doing that.
Right.
Yeah, and
That's a goal. It's a beautiful goal.
Are we with me on that?
Oh, I love your bomb, Bruna. We're all in. And, you know, this is, I think, one important way how we really go from what Nick described as being hungry, right? This being frustrated, this distance, focus, to being connected, to being magnetic to each other, to being fed and to feel, you know, lightness and joy, right? That's where we want to go, right, in the end. So, and that in our own lives, in our families, in our teams, in our businesses, in our society, in our nation, in our world, in the end.
So true. I think we're coming to the end of this beautiful summit. Anyone want to share things that are on the tip of their tongue right now?
Tip of the tongue.
I think the Bjarni is just about to say something.
I just feel like saying just a little bit then, because we might make it this or sound like everybody has to put a lot of effort into doing this inner work, but actually I would just rather have that we choose the path of least resistance. Just look for the open doors and stop staring at the closed doors. Just make it easy. I mean, let's just all make it easy, because it is actually just to find our right elements. Our zone of genius is where we do what we love, what we're good at, what people ask us for advice for, and there will be money there for us as well. So we just have to let go of all the stories that withhold us from being in that spot, because most of us have the thinking that no pain, no gain, and that you're not supposed to jump the fence where it's the lowest. We say that in Denmark. I don't know if you say it abroad, but all these stories, like, get rid of them and just follow the path of least resistance.
Oh, I love you for that, Susanne. Absolutely love you for that. And I think if you get the value straight and you're being authentic, just take the open doors. It can be that simple, you know, it can be that easy. Yeah. It's just when we start wondering, well, what's behind that closed door? Maybe I should just hammer against that a couple of times. Thanks. That's absolutely awesome.
And still, sometimes it's harder to hold back. Sometimes it's harder to not speak your truth. So I still encourage you, if you feel you have something to say, just say it. Say it as if no one would listen. Just say it. And it will be a seed falling in the right ground and will start becoming a beautiful flower. So I'm also saying don't hold back.
That is beautiful. So coming to the end of our discussions, and which is absolutely just the end of our discussion in the year of 2017 online on Facebook, that does mean that it's the beginning of action and next new year. So are we in for that? Are we in for something, a fun thing that is going to Happy New Year!
Yeah.
Happy New Year! You're all into that, aren't you?
Yeah.
We're gonna make 2018 fabulous.
Yeah.
And being a change maker, we want other change makers out there to be having a fabulous year. I'm at least praying for that with my heart. So I'm gonna say thank you so much, you guys, for the beautiful insight, and see you in 2018.
See you in 2018.
In 2018.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye.
Bye.